Hi, I'm Dan, the Eyewear Stylist, and I'm here in New York today interviewing Tom Davies. We're going to ask him a few questions about why he's here today and about his range Catch London, and hopefully you'll find it super interesting. So, first of all, thank you very much, Tom, for taking part in this interview.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking.
That's all right, no problem. So could you tell everybody a bit of a description about who you are and what's brought you here to the show today?
Well, my name's Tom Davies, and I'm an eyewear designer, as you just said. I've launched a new brand I launched it 3 years ago called Catch London, but this is the first launch into the American market. We've got a new team here. I've got 15 new sales guys covering the whole of America. I've bought my Aztec kitchens from the London factory, where I'm inviting opticians here to design and make their own materials.
Yep.
Then we're turning those into glasses back in London next week. And yeah, this is day 2. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, amazing. So why don't you tell us about, obviously you've got Tom Davies, your House of Tom Davies brand. With Catch London, what was the reason you decided to set up Catch London as a separate range?
Well, the House of Tom Davies, look, it's always been Tom Davies. 17 years I've been doing Tom Davies.
Yeah.
And Tom Davies is all about bespoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was collaborating with a lot of people, or designing with people, but it was confusing. Tom Davies got designed by somebody else. It didn't make sense.
Yes.
And I love designing with other people. I love the collaborative process.
Yes.
So Catch London was initially set up as a sort of a limited edition range where I could design with other people and sort of park it there, so it made sense. And also, with Tom Davies, everything has to be able to be bespoke. I must be able to change everything.
Okay.
That limits what you can do, and I want it to be. I've got so many ideas.
Yeah.
I just needed another vehicle. And so what started as a little limited edition range very quickly sort of became so popular.
Yeah.
Primarily because of the colour.
Yeah.
That I just thought this can stand on its own. And so I sort of ring fenced it a little bit, and Tom Davies became the House of Tom Davies.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also had another brand idea called MD 1888, which is based on my great great grandfather's glasses. And I just, again, that would start off as a little limited edition range. I thought this is so good. I just sort of split it off. So yeah, the House of Tom Davies now incorporates 3 brands,
right?
With a 4th maybe on the way.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe an exclusive there, which is cool. So I think one of the things that's super interesting, as you can see behind us, we've got all of these different chips here from acetate. I think a lot of people don't really know the difference between plastic and acetate when it comes to frames. So I was wondering if you could maybe, as an expert on this, tell us a little bit about the difference between plastic and acetate, and just a 2-parter on this. Is either more sustainable than the other, and which material will last longer if people want to replace the lenses into the same frame?
Well, look, I could spend an hour talking about this. So I'm going to try and be as brief as I can. But at the end of the day, acetate is a plastic, okay?
Yeah, okay.
But, most plastics have like a fibrous substance in. And acetate, it's mostly wood pulp. Would be the base of that. Wood pulp, and then that's broken down with acetone. That creates a nice pellet. Yes. And then you have to mix in some plasticizer. So if you have like a really super bendy nylon frame, like a sports frame, that would have a lot of plasticizer in it. Right. It might have sort of 70% plasticizer in there. That's your oil derivative.
Right.
And these kind of compounds, they're harder to break down. That's I wouldn't necessarily say they're more environmentally friendly, but you could argue they are, because there's more of an oil in there, although it's a waste product of the oil, but it's also, they're harder to break down. Yes. The higher the wood pulp content, the stronger the acetate, the less flexibility you've got. Okay. And that has other advantages. You can then, when you've got a really high wood pulp content, you can hand polish it and make a nicer shine, and it will keep its shape better. So cheaper acetate frames will fall down your nose and drive you crazy. And a more expensive acetate frame generally will have a better quality acetate, and they'll just sort of stay and look that good for, could be like 10 years. So, it's hard to see when you're looking at a pair of glasses on the shelf. That's it. The difference. Yes. So for me and Tom Davies, for example, I use a Japanese acetate, which is 80% wood pulp. Right. It means I can polish them for longer, they'll keep their shape better, they look more vibrant. Yep. But the key is that it's a loyalty thing. It takes, 5 or 6 years later, when you still got that awesome Tom Davies frame, it's looking good.
Yes.
And it's got, you know, then you realise. You know, so it's, at the beginning you think, oh, this is no...
To look at, it's sometimes hard to tell at the start, but for durability, we're saying that basically the higher the wood pulp content, the more stronger and more durable the frame is because it will maintain its shape for longer.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not like just, I'm talking about 5 or 6 years, but really if you buy a cheap frame, within 6 months, it's knackered.
Right,
really.
okay.
And it also, not only that,
can you tell us why that is?
Well, so you've got the fibres inside. There's less of them to be bound together.
Less fibres.
So they've got less strength of material.
Okay.
That's one point. And the second point is they lose their shine.
Lose their shine.
You know, it's like having a pair of shoes which haven't been shined. You know, we've got a nice acetate frame. They're always shiny and lovely.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, you can wear frames which got a poor quality acetate. They'll lose their hue, their shine, their vibrancy. Yeah. And they'll look old.
Right.
But that can happen within weeks.
And this is because they maybe don't have as much wood pulp content, or is this a separate reason why they lose the shine?
It's
all linked together.
If you've got a cheaper, softer acetate, then there is a temptation as a manufacturer to dip it in acetate and chuck it in a tumbler machine, tumble polish it, quick cursory polish, it looks great.
Okay.
When you've got a harder acetate, you can't do that because it won't polish. So you're forced on a machine to hand polish for harder and longer. You close the surfaces of the material, and that's what, so you fundamentally, if you look at it under electron microscope, which I've done, the holes, they're hardly there. It's really bonded closed, and so the material is, it's so different.
Yeah.
But there's one of the key reasons why people don't like their glasses, because they fall down the head. So the optician tightens them, and then they pinch behind the head.
Yes, that's right.
And these are all compensations for basically a cheaper product. But you know, it's from my advice to anyone who's buying glasses is, you know, spend as much as you can, but always buy a couple of frames because you want to alternate anyway. Yeah. If you have a problem with the frame, you can always send one back, but you need a wardrobe of glasses. Yeah. So, you know, if you ask me, one really, really good frame or 3 cheap frames, I'd go 3 cheaper frames.
Really? Interesting.
I would do because I want to make sure cosmetically you love wearing your glasses.
Yes.
But you know, if you can afford 3 good frames, it's an investment. They will last you, you know, 4 or 5 years.
Right. Okay. So I suppose the main takeaways I'd say from that is that the better quality acetate will last longer because potentially there's a higher wood pulp content in it.
It'll last longer, it'll look better, it'll perform better as a product. It won't be slipping down your nose, it won't be pinching.
No, and cheaper glasses, so we're talking about plastics and acetates here. Cheap ones will lose their shape faster and lose their shine faster as well.
And another key problem here is that if you sometimes get tempted to buy, you think you've got an expensive frame. You might have paid £800 or $1,000, whatever, but you might spend $600 or $700 of that on the lenses, and the frame is crap. So you're stuck with a very expensive set of lenses in a cheap frame, and that's really that's a trick. You've got to be careful with that.
One thing I've personally found is that sometimes when people have quite high short-sighted prescriptions, they end up going for thinner lenses, which are more durable, really strong, but they're also really flat. And what I found is, obviously, we've got a natural curvature to the kind of the front of our face, and there's a curvature to the front of the frames. That sometimes I find the slightly cheaper plastics, because as you say, they lose the shape a little bit more. They're almost like straighten out like this, and the arms will kind of like bow out a bit like that. So every so often them to come back in so that I can heat it and blow it back.
That's the problem, you see. You put the flat lens in, and then the optician's heating it at the bridge and pushing the curve. Yeah. And the customer puts it on. Yeah, that's great. Great. Within a day, it will have gone flat.
Right. Okay.
And that's if you've got a high prescription, you've got to be shopping for a base 3 lens frame. A flatter frame, and there's not many in the market. I have a few in Catch London, for example, but mostly putting a 450 base curve in. Anything over a -4, you're going to have a flat front, your frame's going to be falling down the face. And that's where bespoke comes in, because then you're designing a frame around your prescription. And again, it sounds like a lot of money when you hear bespoke. Yeah. But if it doesn't slip down your face and doesn't drive you crazy and doesn't do that, then and you can wear it for 4 or 5 years and keep adding to your collection. Then it's a worthwhile investment.
Exactly. So I think what we're saying there, really, because I know sometimes people get a bit lost when we say things like base curves. As opticians, we know a lot about it. Is basically if you've got a really high, short-sighted prescription, which has a minus at the start of it, the higher that prescription is, ideally, when you're looking for your frame, to choose a slightly flatter frame, we'd say, rather than one with a big curve to the front of it. Would you say that's about right?
That's about
right. Yeah,
right.
that's about right.
If you can find them.
Yeah, and so where are your frames? Like, and we're talking about Catch London here today. Where are your frames made, and where do the materials come from, and why there?
So, my factory's in West London, Brentford.
Okay.
I support Brentford Football Club. We're a proud sponsor of the Bees.
Yeah.
And we manufacture all our frames there, all our acetate frames, and Buffalo Horn and titanium.
Yep.
And 18 karat gold and silver 925. So that's my baby, my factory. The raw materials, they come from different places.
Okay.
The chips here,
Yes.
they come from Japan.
Yes, okay. Japan, okay.
So I use Japanese chips because the Japanese love harder materials.
Yep. Which we know will last longer.
Yeah. So when I buy my ready-made material, I also buy Japanese material.
Okay.
But that's for Tom Davies and MD. For Catch London, I've got to shame this, I do buy some acetate materials Catch London out of China.
Okay.
That's just the way it is, you know, that's
okay.
But I also am making my own acetate now in London as well.
You're making your own?
Yes. And
brilliant.
I have plans. I have lots of plans.
Lots of plans.
But one of my plans is to open an extrusion line in my factory.
Amazing.
And
that would be incredible.
And then, so even though I'm making this, buying some acetate out of China at the moment, the raw chips, which are these things here, these are coloured chips. That's a raw chip. These kind of pellets, I'm importing those from Japan into China, and I'm having them extrude it for me and then ship it over to me. I want to replace that process in London, but my God, one step at a time.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of separate moving parts there, isn't there? But I think it's amazing to know. I personally find sometimes it's quite hard to find when it comes to glasses, things that are manufactured in the UK can be really hard to find. A lot of stuff can get outsourced to China and Europe and things like that. So I think it's really cool what Tom's doing in terms of looking towards manufacturing more things in the UK, and it makes everyone's life easier after all the last few years we've had. Just got a few other questions. We maybe touched on this already, but if you could give someone one piece of advice when it comes to selecting their eyewear, what would it be? And I feel like it's going to be that.
Buy 3 pairs. Simple as that.
Buy 3 pairs.
You need to have 3 pairs of glasses.
Okay.
There's no discussion. One frame for everything. You're going to end up with a really boring brown frame.
Yes.
And you're going to hate them.
Everyone does this.
A great going out frame.
Yeah.
You want to have a at work kind of authoritative frame.
Yeah.
And then you can either have something fun or something sporty.
Yeah.
Or just an alternative that maybe an extra colour.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing wrong with a big bold black frame. I'm all for that. But you want to have a bit of colour. If you're a guy, buy a blue frame. If you're a lady,
thank you. Yeah.
But men can all wear great blue frames.
Yeah.
And they're frightened to death of colour.
Yeah,
for ladies,
I agree.
They can just wear all sorts of colour.
It's true. It's true.
You know, and it's not difficult to buy colour. So that's it. One colourful frame, one bold frame, and one easygoing frame.
I think I completely empathise with that. What I find, particularly for people in the UK, we kind of like something that's a bit different, but we don't want to stand out too much. Plus, we can think expense, so we think one thing to go for everything. But the moment you start thinking one to go with everything, you work your way back to that torch shell or that black frame, and you're really limiting yourself and how you come across. So I would tend to agree with that. There's 3 separate frames if we can make it work.
Think about it in terms of an outfit.
The outfit.
Today I'm going to wear this. Tomorrow I'm going to wear this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, life's too boring.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what I wanted to ask is a bit of a cheeky question, but can we expect the Acetate Kitchen at any point to be featuring in the UK as a commercial venture for the public?
I am going to experiment with this in my Covent Garden store in late April.
Okay.
And we're going to just see what happens.
Okay.
Because it works, and I do have people coming into the factory doing it, and they love it.
Yeah.
So let's see if it works, and if that works, then God, who knows? Maybe I'll do a Catch London store next. You never know.
Cool.
Maybe the Acetate Kitchen.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and I hope the rest of the weekend here goes well.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.